Welcome. This is Melinda Barlow, CZT, Certified Zen Tangle Teacher, and part 3 of Blessed Are the Pure in Heart. So we have our last 3 sections to do, and we are going to use, we're working out of the primer book 1, and in lesson 7, where it is reticulars and fragments, and there is a let me just show you the book. There's a grid here that you can use. So if you're not familiar with what I'm saying, we're using fragment A1 or whatever. You'll understand that that's what I'm using. For the last 3, I will be using U7, Z7, and Y1. So U7, I think you could probably do it any way you really like. But oh, again, I'm going to take my pencil line and I'm going to grid it off, and I'm going to double grid because I like the way that looks. So let me scan in a little bit so you can see that I've kind of double lined it. Okay, this is like a little part. U7 is almost just, you're going to come up, make a curve back on it, and follow it back down. This is done. If it's done very slowly, you're going to be able to get it. Now you can go and you could put another one in. I'm just going to start another one. Go in the opposite direction. And we're just going to work our way up this section. So they're just a little curly Q. You could do a lot to these. When you've mastered this, boy, for just some reason, I'm trying to remember what this, what Maria calls this tangle, because I know it, and it's just left my brain. I'm sure that doesn't happen to anyone else but me, but this is one of my favorite tangles. I love just to do a little portion of it. I'm going to pause here a minute. Muka. You'd think I could remember Muka. It's one of my favorites. But just a portion of Muka. So you could do Muka in here, but we're just going to do that particular tangle that the fragment of Muka. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to put, which was in the fragments, just some little, I call them little picots along this line. And I'm putting them on the upper side of my little fragment of Muka. If I say it several times, I'll remember maybe. And I love the one when I add color to this, you'll see why I just kind of left it very plain. Because when I go to shade this, I was really happy with how it turned out. And there we have it. And now I'm going to draw another line. And this time I'm going to draw a space a little bit bigger, just because I'm going to show you what can happen. This is a pretty big space on this end, and I want to do something different in that. And so our next tangle is Z7. And it is a fragment of a tangle. And again, I'm going to have to look because I can't remember. It's a fragment of flux. So we're just doing one flux. And we might do it so that it appears to come under the one above. So they're kind of laying underneath each other. Flux is one of my favorites. I love it. So this little space here, oh, and in between flux, I should say, I like to put orbs to fill in this space. That's just something I like to do because I think it helps flux kind of stay where it needs to be, anchors it down, in other words. But just a few orbs in those spaces. And remember, if you have a fear of doing circles, remember they're not really round. They're not perfect, but they fill in a space real well. So I made this space a little because I want to do something different here, but it was a little bit too big for me. So I'm going to just stripe this off. And you can do that. You can aura a piece and do it wide, and then, so I'm just going to kind of stripe it off in large segments. And it just gives it just another look. Now, for our last one, which is Y1, is this section right here. And I kind of like it. It's kind of like a herringbone. So we put one line going this way and one this way. And they're just going to alternate back and forth. And I call that, giving that a bit of what my mother would have called herringbone. And you can see that my paper has a little texture to it, so my pen kind of wobbles. But I like the look that gives it. And depending on the angle you do it, you can turn that little herringbone so it kind of goes round. And there we have the little herringbone look. Now we're going to add our color. So I'm going to take my red pencil and I'm just going to add some color. Excuse me, I'm going to just add a color with it. So I'm going to add color in my first one. And I put it in quite thick, and I'm just, because I'm going to blend it with, like you would, well, I'm going to blend this with odorless paint thinner. It's just a regular color pencil. It's not a watercolor pencil. If you use a watercolor pencil, you could do it with water, but I'm just going to blend this with odorless paint thinner. And I'm also going to, I'm just going to give a little color on the outside of here, like I would have done on shading with my graphite, but this time I'm just going to use my pencil. I'm going to just color in my lines that I kind of aura'd, left them a little space. Gives me a space to put some color. And I will smooth it out with my odorless paint thinner. So I'm just quickly putting it in. With this one, I've decided I am going to just use my pencil. I'm going to add, instead of color, I'm just going to add some gray in here. So I'm just laying down a little graphite, and I'm also going to do the same thing on this. I'm just going to give it a little in the center, just a little gray, and I'm going to do the outside edge with red. Color in the center of that muka part. Flux, I'm going to give it a little color in the tails, and I'm going to put it kind of thick because I want those to kind of have a little bit more color. And then I'm going to just on the outside of my herringbone. Okay, now I'm going to take my shading stump. This one I've used with graphite, so I'm going to start with my graphite and I'm going to blend it out. And now I'm going to color in my red. So I'm going to take my new shading stump and I'm going to moisten it in my little, I have a little pot that I keep a sponge and some odorless paint thinner in. So I've got my, and now I can blend my color. Will come in a little bit so you can see. Ooh, wrong way. So I'm going to blend my color. And you can see it doesn't take much color. And I don't want to go all the way because I want to leave a little pink or white space. I didn't put color down there, so I'll just blend it. Same there. Now I'm going to do these little oval pieces. Might need a little bit more paint thinner on my blending stump so that it blends it well. And I've found that I like this better than water because I have more control with the color. I can keep it from, you know, blending out into the other spaces. It kind of just blends in, and I have that space. And I can just with the tip blend it out in those spaces. Kind of darkens it up a little. Again, I need to add a little bit more odorless paint thinner so it blends it out. My memory card was full, and so I don't know how much you got, but we're just going to continue to shade. And blend. Now I'm going to scan out so you can see our finished product. Now you can come in here, and I always like to give a little muka to my top. My mukas just come back down in and join each other. And it just gives it some curly cues. You could put some ribbon in here if you wanted. And I like to have some fescue because I like that little bit of dark that comes. on the fescue, and that just kind of brightens that up. Thanks again for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. New videos on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And this is part 3 of Blessed Are the Pure in Heart. Thanks again, and have a great day.